Good morning, students. Welcome to class 5 of SYBSc Biotechnology. Students, in our last lecture, we have discussed 12 principles of green chemistry. So, students, in our today's lecture, we are going to discuss the same 12 principles but in detail with suitable examples. So, let's get started. So, students, the first principle is it is better to prevent waste than to treat or clean up waste after it is formed. Students, the most common type of waste product in an organic synthesis is the unreacted starting material and byproducts which needs to be separated and disposed, often increasing the cost of production and also causing pollution. The green chemistry approach believes that prevention is better than cure. Hence, a synthesis is designed in such a way that it generates minimum waste. So, students, we can say that according to this principle of green chemistry, priority is given for the prevention of waste rather than cleaning up and treating waste after it has been generated. That is, to develop zero waste technology, where the waste product should be zero or minimum. And also, the main aim is to use the waste product of one system as the raw material for the other system. For example, bottom ash of thermal power station can be used as a raw material for cement and brick industry. Students, environmental factor or E factor is also important while studying the first principle of green chemistry. Environmental factor is an indicator of the pollution effect caused on the environment on account of the waste generated in a reaction. It is the ratio of the mass of the waste effluent generated in kilogram to the mass of the desired product in kilogram. So, students, more the mass of the effluent, greater will be the E factor and greater will be the environmental pollution. For example, consider the formation of ethylene oxide. For every 44 kg of ethylene oxide produced, 111 kg of the effluent calcium chloride is produced. So, smaller E factor is desirable as it produces less waste. So, students, as shown in the above reaction, it has a higher E factor. Hence, this method is not good for manufacturing ethylene oxide, according to the principles of green chemistry. Now, second principle is synthetic methods should be designed to maximize the incorporation of all materials used in the process into the final product. Students, many reactions may not give 100% yield of the product, but may produce large amount of byproducts. That is, all atoms of the starting materials are not incorporated into the product. Such a reaction is not considered as green reaction. For example, consider the addition of Grignard reagent to a ketone, which generates large number of byproduct. So, students, while studying the second principle of green chemistry, the concept of atom economy is very important. So, students, let us understand the concept of atom economy. Well, the concept of atom economy was developed by Barry Trost of Stanford University and modified by Roger Sheldon. A reaction is said to be atom economical if most of the atoms of the reactants are incorporated into the desired product. The percentage atom economy can be calculated as percentage atom economy is equals to molecular weight of desired product upon molecular weight of desired product plus molecular weight of byproducts multiplied by 100. So, students, consider for example the Diels-Alder reaction, that is, an addition reaction between butadiene and ethene, which yields cyclohexene as a product. So the molecular weight of cyclohexene is 82, and in this reaction no byproduct is formed. That indicates the addition reaction is 100% atom economical reaction. Now, students, consider one more reaction. Consider the acetylation of aniline using acetic anhydride. So over here, the percentage atom economy comes to 69.23%, which indicates that the reaction is not considered as a green reaction. Due to the formation of byproduct, the atom economy is not 100%. Therefore, the reaction is not considered as a green reaction. So students, we can say that atom economy is a measure of the amount of atoms from the starting materials that are present in the useful products at the end of the chemical process. Students, remember that good atom economy means most of the atoms of the reactants are incorporated in the desired products and only small amounts of unwanted byproducts are formed, and hence lesser problems of waste disposal. The third principle is, wherever practicable, synthetic methodologies should be designed to use and generate substances that possesses little or no toxicity in human health and the environment. Students, an organic synthesis should be so designed that the formation of hazardous substances is minimized, as they are harmful to human health and environment. For example, oxidation of aldehyde can be carried out with the Benning reagents like tertiary butyl hydroperoxide, which produces less toxic tertiary butyl alcohol as the byproduct, rather than with the conventional chromium and manganese compounds, which produce hazardous waste products. So students, we can say that according to the third principle of green chemistry, less hazardous chemical synthesis should be designed, and synthesis routes should be as safe as possible to avoid formation of hazardous waste from chemical processes. Students, for example, earlier DDT was used as insecticide and which was effective in controlling diseases like typhoid and malaria carrying mosquitoes. It was realized that DDT is harmful to living things. Nowadays, benzene hexachloride is used as insecticide. So students, less hazardous chemical synthesis should be designed. Now, let us discuss the fourth principle of green chemistry. That is, chemical products should be designed to preserve efficacy of function while reducing toxicity. Students, due to the advancement in understanding of chemical toxicity, it has become possible to design safer chemicals, which give the desired level of performance and at the same time are within the permissible level of toxicity. For example, designing a drug with required degree of activity but making it less bioavailable to reduce its toxicity. So students, we can say that the fourth principle of green chemistry aims at developing products that are less toxic or which require less toxic raw materials. Students, in chemical industries, workers are exposed to toxic environment. Safer chemicals must be designed in order to prevent the workers from exposure to toxicity. Students, for example, adipic acid is widely used in polymer industry. Benzene is the starting material for the synthesis of adipic acid. But benzene is carcinogenic, and benzene being volatile organic compound pollutes the air. So students, in green technology developed by Rath and Frost, adipic acid is enzymatically synthesized from glucose, which is considered as a safer chemical, that is, designing safer chemicals. Then, the fifth principle of green chemistry is use of auxiliary substances. For example, solvents should be made unnecessary whenever possible. Students, many organic solvents such as methylene chloride, chloroform, carbon tetrachloride, etc. are found to be carcinogenic. Organic reactions can be carried out using green solvents such as water, liquid carbon dioxide, etc., which do not cause health hazards. Students, it has been possible to carry out organic reactions in solid state without any solvent. It is possible to carry out dry cleaning of the cloths by using supercritical carbon dioxide instead of carbon tetrachloride, which is harmful. So students, we can say that the fifth principle of green chemistry involves use of safer solvent and minimizing the total amount of solvent and auxiliary substances used for any given step of reaction. This is because solvents and auxiliary substances make up a large percentage of the total waste created. Students, the main aim behind this principle is to use green solvents. That is, as discussed earlier, water or critical carbon dioxide in place of volatile halogenated organic solvents such as chloroform, carbon tetrachloride, etc. for chemical synthesis and other purposes. Similarly, solvents as chemicals that dissolve solute and form solutions, which may facilitate many reactions. Water is a safe burning solvent, while dichloromethane is hazardous. Students, use of toxic solvents affects millions of workers every year and has implications for consumers and the environment as well. Many solvents are used in high volumes and many are volatile organic compounds. Students, their use creates large amounts of waste, air pollution and other health impacts. So students, therefore, use of safer solvent and auxiliaries is a must. Then the sixth principle of green chemistry is energy requirements should be recognized for their environmental and economic impacts and should be minimized. Students, energy is required for any organic synthesis in the form of heat, light, etc. Most of the energy is obtained from fossil fuels such as coal, petroleum, etc., which are not only renewable sources but also have a major environmental effect because of release of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and involves larger expenditure. It is now possible to carry out a reaction by using microwaves, ultrasound, which are more advantageous and non-polluting than the conventional energy sources. So students, according to this principle of green chemistry, we can say that chemical synthesis should be designed to minimize the use of energy by carrying out reactions at room temperature and pressure. This can be achieved by use of proper catalyst, microorganisms for organic synthesis, renewable materials, etc. Students, the biocatalyst can work at the ambient conditions. Similarly, in chemical synthesis, reflexing conditions require less energy. Improving the technology of heating system, use of microwave heating, etc. So students, in our today's lecture, we have discussed total 6 principles of green chemistry in detail along with suitable examples. So in our next lecture, we shall discuss the remaining 6 principles of green chemistry. Till then, take care.